Have you ever wondered how one person's faith and wisdom can inspire generations? Imagine someone who's lived not for the worldly gains but to guide others towards truth, simplicity, and devotion to God. The story takes us back to 14th century Kashmir, a time of social and spiritual upheaval. Amid these changes, a man emerged who taught people to trust in God, to live humbly, and to care for others. His life became a beacon of light for those who were searching for purpose and peace. Often known as names like Alamdar Kashmir, which means flag bearer of Kashmir, Sheikh Alam, which means the teacher of the world, and his teachings continue to resonate with the hearts of people every day. Today we explore the legacy of a saint whose life was devoted to spreading the message of Tawhid and inspiring others to live a life of sincerity and humility. And his name is Sheikh Noor-ud-Din Noorani, or known as Nund Rishi. Sheikh Noor-ud-Din Noorani, lovingly called Nund Rishi, was born in 1377 in the village of Kaimu in Kolagam in Kashmir. His parents, Sheikh Salaruddin and his mother Sadr Moj, were devout Muslims, and from a young age, Nund displayed a natural inclination towards spirituality. Even as a child, he showed a dislike for materialism and the distractions of worldly life. He sought solace in quiet contemplation and reflection in Allah's creation. One story about his early life emphasizes his dedication to a simple and righteous path. It is said that Nund refused to partake in the luxuries offered to him, believing they were distractions from true faith. This deep connection to humility and devotion would shape his entire life. Nund Rishi spent much of his youth meditating in the forest, primarily a cave in his native land of Kolagam, observing the beauty of nature and marveling at the signs of God evident in the world around him. The connection with nature inspired much of his poetry, where he often referred to the natural world as a reminder of the greatness of God. Nund Rishi's teachings were deeply rooted in Islamic principles, emphasizing the oneness of Allah, the importance of living a humble life, and the need to serve humanity. His philosophy can be summed up in a few key points. The first one, which is Tawhid, or the oneness of God or Allah. Nund Rishi taught that Allah is the sole creator, sustainer, and the ultimate judge. All devotion and worship must be directed to Him alone. In one of his poems, he says, quote, "Do not be deceived by the illusions of the world. Remember, it is Allah alone who sustains you." The second part of his philosophy can be traced back to simplicity and humility. He lived an aesthetic life, rejecting material wealth and luxury. He believed that true contentment comes from trusting Allah and being grateful for His blessings, no matter how small they were. The third part was his service to humanity. Nund Rishi emphasized that serving others is an act of worship. He encouraged people to help the poor, feed the hungry, and treat others with kindness and fairness. He was often seen critiquing hypocrite people. He often criticized outward display of piety that were not backed by sincere actions. For him, true faith was reflected in deeds, not just words or rituals. He wrote, quote, "The tongue speaks of Allah, but the heart is distant from Him. Purify your soul, and your actions will follow." But Nund Rishi wasn't just a poet, but he was a social reformer. Nund Rishi lived during a time of social inequality and corruption. He witnessed how religious leaders or mullahs, which he often criticized in his poetry, often prioritized power and wealth over guiding people towards the truth. He openly criticized such hypocrisy in his verses, calling for sincerity and true devotion. One of his poems reflects this, quote, "The mullah builds mosques with grandeur, but forgets to build his own character. True faith lies in the heart, not in outward displays." Nund Rishi's criticism was not limited to religious hypocrisy. He also spoke against social injustice, such as exploitation of the poor by the wealthy and powerful. He encouraged a life of fairness and compassion, reminding people that all are equal before Allah. Despite his criticism, Nund Rishi never sought confrontation. His approach was one of the peaceful reform, using his words and actions to inspire change. This made him deeply loved by the common people, who saw him a guide who truly lived by the principles he preached. The works of Nund Rishi were preserved in poetry known as shruks, which remain one of the most cherished aspects of his legacy. These verses were written in the Kashmiri language and were simple yet profound, making them accessible to everyone, from scholars to villagers. Some recurring themes in his poetry include: 1. The transience of life, where he says, quote, "This world is a passing shadow. Seek Allah, the eternal light." Another one of his small poems goes with unity with nature. Quote, "The trees bow in prayer, the rivers sing his praise. Look around and you will find his signs in every corner." Also, he was an advocate for self-purification, where he writes, quote, "Rid your heart of pride and envy. Only then you will find peace within." Nund Rishi shruks not only conveyed spiritual wisdom, but also addressed everyday struggles, offering practical advice rooted in Islamic values. Nund Rishi's legacy and reverence are still one of his great characteristics in today's world. Nund Rishi's tomb stays in Sharif in the district of Budgam, which also remains a good tourist place. People from all walks of life often visit the tomb to look at the Persian architecture and mostly the Kashmiri architecture. Even centuries after his death, his teachings continue to resonate with people across Kashmir and beyond. His emphasis on simplicity, devotion, and serving others serves as a timeless reminder of what it means to live a righteous life. His shruks are still recited at gatherings, weddings, funerals, and moments of personal reflection, keeping his legacy alive in the hearts of his followers. Nund Rishi's life and teachings remind us of the core principles of faith, devotion in God, humility in our actions, and kindness towards others. His words guide us to focus on what truly matters, helping us navigate life with sincerity and purpose. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the life of Sheikh Noor-ud-Din Noorani, or as I would like to call him, Nund Rishi, a man whose unwavering faith and wisdom continue to inspire generations. His story is a powerful example of how one's life lived with sincerity and devotion can leave an everlasting impact on the world. And I will see you next time.